right, in this lesson, we're going to look at matching features. So matching the information to the other piece of information, and we will discuss all the strategies to tackle this type of question. Okay, so let's get into it. So in this type of question, what we need to do is we need to understand that the speaker is going to use a lot of synonyms. It's going to use a lot of synonyms, going to use a lot of phrasing, okay? Rephrasing. So the information that you read and see is not going to be the same thing that you're going to hear, but you should know the synonyms, how it can define, it can mean the same thing, and then you will have to match the information given to you with the other information. So it's a matching kind of exercise. Okay, so let's see how you can achieve that. Matching features question, what's the strategy? Before the audio starts, you'll have time to look at the questions. Very important to guess the context. I think we have already gotten our head around this. It's very important that we are always looking and guessing the context and understanding, what kind of information you're going to be looking at by reading the stems of the question. Recognize different voices. So obviously there will be two people talking, or it could be more than two people talking. You should be able to recognize the voices of people. Matching features, what's the strategy? Okay, so let's look at the instructions and questions for part 1 of the listening test and decide what you think the conversation is going to be. So let's just guess the context, okay? By reading, not just even listening. Without listening, can we guess what type of question, what type of listening activity this is going to be? Let's look at question 1 to 4. Which hotel matches each description? So it's about, by reading this first question and without reading the options, or without reading the pieces of information 1 to 4, which hotel matches each description. That means this whole activity is going to be around a hotel, okay? And there will be two speakers talking about maybe booking a hotel, for example, right? Maybe someone is trying to book a hotel because we have a bunch of hotels here. If you read the hotels, you have A to E, the Bridge Hotel, the Carlton House, Imperial, the Majestic, the Royal Oak. These are all different types of hotels, and it feels like someone is trying to book a hotel, right? So we're guessing the information, right? Let's read what types of information will be discussed in the listening. First, number 1 is in a rural area, right? So it's in a remote area, for example. Number 2, only opened recently. We need to understand which hotel is open recently. Number 3, offers facilities for business functions. So that's an important information, which hotel offers that. And number 4, has an indoor pool. Okay, let's do this. At this time, I want you to do it yourself so that you are synthesizing the information. So look at the instruction and questions for part 1. We have already done this number 1 and try to synthesize as to what the information is going to be. Let's read this note here, the dot point. In matching features question, you will hear a lot of information, and that's one thing. It's challenging one. It's not that straightforward. You're going to be listening to a lot of information. All right. Before you listen, you should try to anticipate by reading the questions or prompt. You should try to anticipate how you will hear this, as the speakers on the recording will not always use the same language. All right, it's not going to be the same words. For example, rural area, they might not even say this word. It might be remote area or not close to the city. Could be synonyms, right? And you have to think about the synonyms and similar words and phrases, and that's why it's very important to have a huge vocabulary. If you're struggling with vocabulary, go on IELTS website, and there is a lot of exercises that they give out to you where you can. It's by level. So if you're pre-int, A1, A2, A3, A4, A1, A2, B1, B2 type of vocabulary you can learn. Okay. I'll put a link in the description here below so that you can go and check that out as well. All right, now moving on to this. So prompt number 2, it says, look at part 1, questions 1 to 4, and answer the following questions. Now, how many options do you have to choose from? What are they? Okay, think about what options you have here. Okay, I want you to pause the video here and do it on your own. Let's discuss the questions, and when you come back, we will discuss the answers. Work in pairs. If this will be in a classroom setting, we will be working in pairs, but this course is online, so you guys will be doing by yourself. All right, how could these 4 ideas be expressed differently? Rural area, how this can be expressed differently. What is the synonym here? How can you rephrase it, right? And it will be rephrased in your listening activity. Opened recently, what are the synonyms that you can use for open recently? Facilities for business functions, indoor swimming pools, how can you change that? Are there any words or phrases that you think might not change? Okay, what are the words that will not change here? Pause the video here, do it on your own. When you come back, we'll discuss the answers. All right, I hope you had a chance to look at the questions on your own. Let's discuss these questions. So we talked about, what type of activity it could be. Obviously, this will be about hotel room. It does give you some background that this is going to be about hotel room. So you can look at the questions and it's talking about the description of the hotels. So it could be that someone is booking a hotel or choosing a hotel to stay in. Exercise 2, going back to it, it said, look at the again at part 1, questions 1 to 4, and the answer the following questions. How many options do you have to choose from? How many options you've got? 5 options, 5 hotels, right? So A, B, C, D, E. So names of the hotels, those are the options. And then we talked about, how you can come up with synonyms. Now, let's just talk about a rural area. What could be the synonym? Outside the city, countryside. Can say countryside, can say outside the city, mean the same thing. It's talking about rural area. It may not mention, the speaker may not mention rural area, but you understand these are rural areas. These hotels are in rural area, and that's a correct description for that. Okay. Only opened recently. It might not say in the listening activity that is opened recently. It might say it's a new hotel opened a few months ago and things like that, right? Offers facilities for business functions. Maybe it might not mention business functions. It might mention, meeting rooms, boardroom. It has boardrooms, it has meeting rooms, it has business center. All these things could be mentioned and you can create that link. Okay. Has an indoor swimming pool. May not mention that, may just mention it's inside, the swimming pool is inside, it's covered swimming pool and things like that. Okay. What are the words? So going back again, it says, are there any words or phrases that you think might not change? Maybe the swimming pool may not change, right? And the names of the hotels are not going to change. Of course, she will mention the names of the hotel. Okay, because these are names of the hotel and they don't have any synonyms. Okay, cool, sounds good. Let's move on. So now we're going to focus on understand, what are the things that we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on the phrases, hotel names. When we are listening, these are the things that we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on the phrases, hotel names. Phrases, by phrases, what I mean is the description of the hotel, and anticipate words and phrases from the previous activity that we just did right now. Okay, now we're gonna do it. I'm gonna play the audio. You're going to listen, read the questions, and you already read the questions, so you don't really need to read again. But if you want, you can pause the video here. You can read the questions. I'm gonna play the audio. Listen very carefully. It's gonna be in order. A rural area is gonna be mentioned first. Opened recently is gonna be mentioned second, and then so on. So you listen and take, which hotel is it talking about? You have to be very careful. They're very tricky. They will try to trick you with the information. So you have to be very, very careful and be aware of that. Let's do that.
You will hear a man talking to an official at a tourist information office. Can I help you?
Yes, I was wanting somewhere to stay for a few days, a 4 or 5-star hotel. Can you tell me something about the possibilities?
Okay, right. Well, there are 5 hotels that might interest you. Were you wanting a city centre location, or would you be interested in something a bit further out?
Well, I do have a car, so I could go for either.
Well, there are two central hotels in the range you're looking for. There's Carlton House and the Imperial. They're both near the main square, but if you've got your own transport, you might be interested in the Royal Oak. That's out in the country, about 10 kilometres away. Very peaceful. Then there's the Bridge Hotel and the Majestic. They're both in town, but not in the centre. They're out on the airport road.
That might be a bit far out, actually. Okay, now the other two you mentioned in the city centre. Can you tell me a bit about them?
Well, they're both excellent hotels. If you want something with a bit of character, Carlton House is quite unusual. It's a very old building that was originally a large private house. It was bought by the Vannies chain, and they completely refurbished it. They took their first guests just a few months ago, but it's already got an excellent reputation. That's a five-star hotel. Or there's the Imperial, which is a much more modern building. That also has its own gym, and it also has internet connection and meeting rooms. It's used for conferences and corporate events as well as private guests. That's five-star as well.
Does it have a swimming pool as well as a gym?
No, the Royal Oak has an outdoor pool, which is lovely in the summer, but the only hotel with an indoor pool is the Bridge Hotel. It doesn't have a gym, though. The Majestic is planning to build a swimming pool and a fitness centre, but it's not finished yet.
I see. Well, I think I'll probably go for one of the city centre hotels.
All right, cool. So I hope you would have gotten your answers down. Let's review the answers. And I know that the option number 2 is very, very tricky. So they try to trick you by saying old building, modern building, right? But you have to be careful. The information that they're asking is only opened recently. Which one has opened recently? Okay, let's look at the answers.
You will.
Right, the answer number 1 is E, 2 is B, 3 is C, and 4 is A. If you got B wrong, that means you got tricked by them when they said Carlton is an old building, right? But it was bought by Venice chain, and they recently opened, and they took their first customer just recently, a few months ago. So recently open is the important bit. It's not, it doesn't matter if it's an old building or a modern building. Okay. Vocabulary practice is very important that you do the vocabulary practice. I will put a link for you to look at the vocabulary, and you can go and check on IELTS website, and you can do the vocabulary practice. You can build your vocabulary. Very important that you know how to learn the synonyms, and you should be able to pick the synonyms from the listening and match it to the prompts. All right, let's just do a little bit of exercise using this, vocabulary practice. We're gonna look at some. I will give you some words here on the left. In column A, you've got rural area, opened recently, business functions, renovate, and gym. Look at the transcript, okay? Pause the video, look at the transcript, and see what are the words that are used. Because they're not saying rural area, or they're not saying open recently. They're using different words, and what are the words that are represented in the transcript, and put them in column B, right? So do this exercise, and then you will know that, okay, this is how they trick you. This is how you have to be careful, and you will have to match the words to the rephrasing of the sentences. Okay, so pause the video here, do this exercise. When you come back, we'll review the answers. All right, I hope you had a chance to look at the vocabulary and the transcript, and you were able to come up with these answers. If not, let's just review it quickly and see if you got the answers. So rural area, they say in the country. In the country is definitely, city, country, countryside is rural area. Opened recently, it didn't say opened recently. They said took their first guest just a few months ago. So They did talk about it's an old building, and then Imperial is a new building, a modern building, but which one opened recently? Took the first guest just a few months ago is the key bit that you should be focusing on and understanding that they played these tricks on you. So be careful with that. Business functions, they didn't mention business function. They talked about meeting rooms, conferences, and corporate events. So that's important to understand that that's referring to business functions, right? Renovated instead of renovated, they talked about refurbished, similar thing, refurbished, renovated. Gym, they talked about fitness center. Okay, so instead of gym, they use the word fitness center. So this is the vocabulary that you should know as well. I'll put the link of the vocabulary for IELTS and for you to practice. Depending on your level, you can go and learn the vocabulary from there. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.